Russell Wilson. Wow, talk about resurfacing in the NFL very quickly after being cut by the Broncos. Now the Steelers are signing Russell Wilson to be their new starting quarterback for the 2024 NFL season. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Russell Wilson signing with the Steelers, as he will likely be their new starting quarterback. It seems as if the Steelers are moving on from Kenny Pickett as their starting quarterback. With this signing happening, it signals a move from the Steelers front office that they are serious about being legitimate contenders in the AFC. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Do you like the Russell Wilson signing for the Steelers? Absolutely. I actually really like this signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why? Is it because Russell Wilson will continue to be a great quarterback? Absolutely not. But I like this signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the fact that Russell Wilson does represent a pretty good upgrade over Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, as well as Mitchell Trubisky. You look at how the Pittsburgh Steelers have had horrible quarterback play ever since Big Ben retired from the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers a few years ago decided to draft Kenny Pickett in the first round. They tried to build their franchise around Kenny Pickett, but it was pretty clear that Kenny Pickett was not an NFL caliber quarterback. There's a reason why Kenny Pickett has thrown less than 20 touchdowns in 2 years in the NFL. That's because he's not a very good passer at the NFL level whatsoever. Kenny Pickett plays scared. You can tell that he's afraid to play strong competition in the NFL, and that even though he does try his hardest, it's just simply clear he doesn't have NFL caliber talent. The only thing that's good about Kenny Pickett is that he can make fourth quarter comebacks in a defensive struggle. But shoot, even Tim Tebow could do that back when he was the quarterback for the Denver Broncos over a decade ago. So that's not really a real accomplishment. As far as what Kenny Pickett could actually do on the football field, nothing really. Kenny Pickett, he really couldn't move down the field whatsoever. He didn't have a great arm. His arm was actually fine compared to his accuracy. His accuracy was horrible. His decision making was trash. And quite frankly, there was really nothing redeemable about Kenny Pickett at the quarterback position. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be aggressive in the quarterback market and add a future Hall of Famer to their starting lineup, that's really impressive in and of itself. And the fact that they only signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year, $1.21 million contract. So in other words, Russell Wilson is playing for the veteran minimum, which means that Russell Wilson is going to be playing on a bargain contract. Pittsburgh, they find a way to get the job done when it comes to upgrading at the quarterback position. And what better way to get an upgrade at the quarterback position than signing Russell Wilson on the cheap? I've been critical of Russell Wilson for his time on the Denver Broncos, and I still believe that the Russell Wilson trade will be remembered as one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. That fact is never going to change whatsoever, but what Russell Wilson can change is the perception around him, because right now the perception around Russell Wilson is not very good whatsoever. When people think about Russell Wilson now, they think about a greedy SOB that demanded a trade out of the Seattle Seahawks and landed on the Denver Broncos, and then he massively underachieved for that franchise. But now Russell Wilson has a chance to change that narrative around him. Now he can go back to playing in a run-first based offense. They can run the football a lot with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, and then Russell Wilson can thrive off of that as he can use play action and find guys open like George Pickens, and maybe they can even throw the ball to Deontay Johnson, depending on what's going to happen with Deontay Johnson this offseason. Maybe Deontay Johnson gets traded, which is what it seems like it's going to happen, but if they can manage to keep Deontay Johnson in, they're going to be pretty set at the wide receiver position. If not, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers are better than any other team in the National Football League when it comes to drafting and developing wide receivers in the National Football League. That's why the Pittsburgh Steelers have always had superstar wide receivers in my entire lifetime. I have never seen the Pittsburgh Steelers not have a superstar wide receiver at their hands, but the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, they got a pretty good offense at their hands. People just don't realize that their offense is going to be pretty good because of the fact that Kenny Pickett was an absolutely horrible quarterback at the NFL level. Obviously, you look at how the Pittsburgh Steelers upgraded at the offensive coordinator position as well. Going from Matt Canada to Arthur Smith is a massive upgrade. Despite what you guys may think about Arthur Smith, he is a much better coordinator than Matt Canada, but that is definitely not saying much of anything, because Matt Canada was easily the worst offensive coordinator in the National Football League. The fact that Matt Canada lasted multiple years should tell you the system for hiring offensive coordinators is messed up, because there is no way that Matt Canada should have been hired as long as he was for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that his offense was very awful to watch indeed. But you look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers have been able to build offensively. They've got good weapons. They've got a good running game. Russell Wilson, what does he do best? He thrives off the running game and play action. He's going to be able to take one-on-one opportunities with George Pickens. Expect George Pickens to have a big year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. As far as how I think Russell Wilson is going to do, I don't think he's going to have a great year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is a mobile quarterback that is declining in terms of skill set in his 30s, but Russell Wilson is still an effective quarterback at times if you put him in the right system. And more importantly, he's not Kenny Pickett, he's not Mitchell Trubisky, he's not Mason Rudolph. He is actually an NFL caliber quarterback. And I know Mason Rudolph played really well to end off last season, but let's be honest with ourselves. Mason Rudolph is a career backup for multiple reasons. It's because he doesn't have an NFL caliber arm, and he's not exactly a quarterback that makes a lot of good plays with the football in his hands. The best thing you can say about Mason Rudolph is that he doesn't do anything stupid with the football, which honestly is better than whatever Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky was doing at the quarterback position. But Russell Wilson is actually a guy that can make explosive plays with the football in his hands. He's not as good as he once used to be at that thing, but Russell Wilson, he still can produce you maybe 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. If the Pittsburgh Steelers get that kind of production at the quarterback position, that's going to be a major upgrade for them, considering the fact that Kenny Pickett struggles to even score double-digit amount of touchdowns per year, or the fact that Mitchell Trubisky can't even score more touchdowns than picks, or the fact that Mason Rudolph is just not an accurate passer whatsoever that can throw the football downfield. So Russell Wilson is obviously going to be an upgrade over those three guys. Last week, I said that the Pittsburgh Steelers should not have signed Russell Wilson, but that was before I realized that Russell Wilson was willing to play for the vet minimum. Now that Russell Wilson was willing to play for the vet minimum, you absolutely have to take that deal 10 times out of 10. It actually would have been more expensive if the Pittsburgh Steelers had to re-sign Mason Rudolph to compete with Kenny Pickett for the starting job, but you get a chance to get Russell Wilson for the vet minimum, you take that deal 10 times out of 10. Who cares if Russell Wilson sucks for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Russell Wilson on his worst day is better than Kenny Pickett on his best day. And obviously Mike Tomlin is entering a contract year. He needs to win this year in order to keep his job in Pittsburgh. Obviously Mike Tomlin, he's never had a losing season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's been a great coach for them, but he's obviously going on 17 years in Pittsburgh. He's entering a contract year. If he doesn't win, he's probably not going to be back in Pittsburgh because they're not giving him a contract extension. Remember, Mike Tomlin has not won a playoff game since 2016. So now that the Steelers front office is making that decision clear for Mike Tomlin, why not be aggressive at the quarterback position? If this is going to be the final year of Mike Tomlin, at least give Mike Tomlin the pieces to actually be able to compete in a strong AFC. And right now, they got better at the quarterback position. The real reason why Russell Wilson signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers is rather pretty simple. It's a chance for Russell Wilson to change the narrative around his NFL career, because right now Russell Wilson has a negative perception around him, and if he can manage to play good football with the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is going to change the perception of so many football fans that have been critical of Russell Wilson, and that Russell Wilson can show that you can be a mobile quarterback and play good football late into your 30s, because obviously Russell Wilson is on the wrong side of 30. He's getting old now. He's not the same player he once used to be. I don't think Russell Wilson is going to ever be the player that he was in Seattle, but do I think Russell Wilson can be a solid game manager for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Absolutely. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers got to the playoffs with horrible quarterback play, so why couldn't they get to the playoffs with Russell Wilson playing decent at the quarterback position? But even if they don't, it's not going to be because Russell Wilson sucked. It's going to be because of the fact that the AFC is really good from top to bottom, and also you look at the division that they're in. Their division is already the hardest division all of football, but now it's only going to get harder. You look at how the Baltimore Ravens, they got an MVP caliber quarterback in Lamar Jackson. He's obviously going to be returning to the Baltimore Ravens, and they still have an elite defense. You also look at how the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be fully healthy next year. They're also going to get Joe Burrow back from injury, and we all know what Joe Burrow is all about when he's fully healthy. When the Bengals are fully healthy, they're as good as any team in the AFC. And then the other team is the Cleveland Browns. They get Deshaun Watson back healthy. He's going to be ready to go. The defense for the Browns is already pretty good. Nick Chubb's going to be returning from injury as well, so the running game for the Browns is going to be pretty good. The defense of the Browns, we know what they're capable of doing, and obviously if Deshaun Watson can get back to the level that he was playing on the Houston Texans, that's going to be a really good squad in the AFC North. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got competitive competition to deal with in the AFC North. It honestly is going to be a gauntlet division because you've got really good quarterback play on each of those four teams, and more importantly, those coaches are all pretty good in their own right. You look at how John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Zach Taylor, Kevin Stefanski, they're all good head coaches that are capable of bringing team success to their respective franchises. So obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be having their hands full when it comes to building a competitive roster for the 2024 NFL season. They couldn't bring back Kenny Pickett as their starting quarterback. That would have signaled a team that was not serious about winning, and anytime Mike Tomlin is your coach, you have to be serious about winning at all times. That's what Mike Tomlin is all about. There's a reason why he's never had a losing season in his career. That's because he finds ways to get the most out of bad rosters, but now you finally give him a Hall of Fame quarterback to work with, something that he hasn't had to work with since Big Ben at the quarterback position. We'll see what happens with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not necessarily too high on Russell Wilson on the Steelers, but I think he's going to be better than Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, it ain't necessarily the hardest thing to do, and obviously if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you go ahead and sign Russell Wilson to the vet minimum, because if he sucks, so what? why. He was very cheap, and more importantly, he's a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett, because you already know Kenny Pickett is trash at the quarterback position. You already know that the other answers on the Pittsburgh Steelers are not good enough at the quarterback position. So yeah, why not go ahead and sign Russell Wilson on the cheap and see what happens with Russell Wilson at the quarterback position? I mean, this is a team that could still make the playoffs next year for sure. Even if Russell Wilson doesn't play up to par with his status, I'm still pretty high on the Pittsburgh Steelers for the 2024 NFL season, even though I'm not high on Russell Wilson, because they upgraded an offensive coordinator, they upgraded at quarterback, they still were able to retain the defensive pieces on their squad, and they got a pretty good offense in general. It's just that their quarterback play has really held back the weapons for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I like the move overall. There's a lot to like with the Russell Wilson signing, because there is no risk with the signing, and best case scenario, Russell Wilson returns back to his form in Seattle, and guess what? The Pittsburgh Steelers just found themselves a pretty solid quarterback for the next 4 to 5 years if Russell Wilson can return to that form. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's definitely something that could happen. So that is why I like the Russell Wilson signing a lot, as there is little to no risk with this move for the Steelers. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.